Hello, everybody. This is Gizmo. I go by the name Gizmo, at least for DBD anyway. And I just wanted to give my 2 cents on where I think the state of this game is going, with a little bit of backstory of how I got into DBD, where I came from beforehand, and where I thought it was then, where I think it is now. And it really dawned on me to do this after coming back. I want to say it was about a year since I've really played into a public setting. Uh, the last couple killers that I bought, I was mainly trying them in bot matches just to see how their power worked and everything. And it wasn't really anything public, so I've been out of the loop for a while. But anyway, so how it all started, I used to play this game called Friday the 13th. And if any of you are fans of the ASIM genre, you know how big that game was when it came out. And, it wasn't perfect, but it really had a powerful feeling as a killer. Like, you really had a lot of control of how your games went, and you could turn the tide pretty quickly if you knew that somebody was going to escape or if Tommy was going to show up. There were ways to play around it, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I spent so many hours. I think I ended up getting like 1,100 hours into the game before they shut it down due to the lawsuit. And it really was disheartening. It shattered me when it happened because I grew to love something where I could play both sides and have a lot of fun with it. Like, I was really good at escaping Jason. I was really good. I didn't really like to kill him. I never really liked that aspect of it. It was more fun to try to escape him. But being Jason was like the best feeling ever. Like, I was never shy to be a Jason. And it's kind of funny because, like, a lot of the things you hear about tunneling and stuff, it brings me back to those days when on Friday the 13th, people would cry and call you a slasher because it was a term used to describe somebody who, instead of going for the grab execution where it locks you into an animation where it could give them a chance to stun you, you just straight up go ahead and M1 slash them to death. And depending on what Jason you played, he was it could happen within a few swings, and you could kill him, take him out of the game. And make no mistake about it, there was a lot of toxicity back then. And, but all in all, even if people were talking shit to you, you could, you could kind of rub it in their face if you played well enough. And that's what really appealed to me. I normally play like single player games, but this was like the first big ASIM that I was into. The only other like multiplayer that I really got into was World of Warcraft, but that's for a different time. But anyway, so after the lawsuit, they closed down the servers, and I was looking for the next thing, and that's when DBD Dead by Daylight hit my radar, and looking at it first glance, I was just immediately mesmerized by it. I loved the idea that I could just play my favorite killer, and you know, not all of them were there, but at the time, Pig was coming out, and I really liked the Saw movies, so being able to play Amanda, that was really, really cool, and immediately I was like in love with this game. And I played her for a long time until right around, I think, the Trickster came out, and he became like the new Vice for me. I played him for months, and I loved his power. I loved his ability. He was very, very slow. He was easy to get away from, but like he was also he could turn the tide of a game without anybody even suspecting it, and that's what I liked about him. And not long after that, Pyramid Head came out in the Silent Hill chapter, and that was like, oh my god, like I always wanted to play Pyramid Head as a killer. Like I thought that was so cool. And so like I was pretty locked into this game to the point where I was coming home and I would spend anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day after work just playing them and having the time of my life. And then Nemi came out, and Nemi was so like, again, just like Pyramid Head, it just blew my mind how the killer was, his powers, his passives, his like even his perks. His perks were like so good. Like Old Eruption was disgusting, and like that was like you could use just that perk alone in a gen build and be very effective with it. But somewhere along the lines, uh, 6.0 came, Wesker came out, and then that was right around they started reworking the whole Dead Hard. And after they nerfed it, that kind of gave them the push to in turn like give base kit borrowed time. And at first it didn't seem very overwhelming. It was something you could work around, you know. Still new to the space, there were still problems with it. And because theoretically speaking, like as a solo queue player, it's nice to not just get down back to back to back and kicked out of the game. And I can admit that that is not a lot of fun to play. And I wasn't that kind of killer that would do that, but I know it happened a lot. I didn't play Survivor too much, but right around 6.0, I was kind of going back and forth 50-50 between killer and Survivor. I really, really liked both sides. I felt like it wasn't too overpowered on both sides. But then when base kits came, it just really shifted on what it meant to win in this game. You know, because back then, you know, if you played well enough and you could loop, you could do basic mind games, you could pretty much 4K. And now, current day, it's not really the case anymore. So I was playing. I dropped off after a little while of Wesker's release. I came back for the next like 4 killers after him, and I ended up pretty much on Houndmaster, and then that was like the end of it for me at that point because it was just I was getting into a lot of games that were very very short, and I could get into a chase and like right off the rip of a game, get it down, go for the hook, start the second chase, and 2 gens pop. And then by the time I get that person down and hooked, the third gen would pop. And that didn't used to really be the case back then because the gen regression was a lot harsher than it is now. And it kind of discouraged me in playing. And so I took a break for a while. And I came back uh, a few days ago to like get used to the Jason because Jason came and that was like, that hit my radar and I was immediately intrigued into seeing what he was about. So I downloaded the PTB and played him, and I thought, wow, this Jason's pretty good. Even with everything that's out there, like he felt like pretty balanced in the current state of things. So I was really excited, but I knew in the back of my mind that he wasn't going to last very long. They were going to patch out things. They were going to nerf him, and I first experienced this with the Knight. When the Knight released, I thought he was very very effective, and so I bought him like the second I played him, I knew I was going to buy this killer, and I played him a couple matches, got into him. A few weeks went by, he got nerfed. They made it really hard to start the patrols with him, and it just, you start getting these, you start noticing patterns with how these changes really affect the core gameplay, because as a killer you have to manage four different people and try to keep them pressured enough not to escape real fast. And it's really hard to pressure four people at the same time. You can't really do it. So you have to do one at a time. You have to go after them one at a time. And when you start doing the math on how long it takes for the chase to the down to the hook to the next chase, you start realizing if you're losing gens within 3 to 4 minutes of the game, most of these games are going to be are going to feel like they're rigged against you. And you know, there's always room to improve being a killer. There's always room to improve being a survivor. It's just that there's only so much of that ceiling you can get to, and then it's more of what killer do you want to main that's going to get you a win, And I never was big into Blight or Nurse. I didn't really play them. I've only played them like 2 or 3 times in total since I've owned the game. I know what I liked, and I know what I was good at, so I wanted to keep it that way. And but as of 10.0, I mean, it's a former shell of what it used to be. So I tried putting all my bias aside and everything. I tried coming back to this game, and I kid you not, the first couple games I played weren't, I don't think, were swift, because they weren't as coordinated. They, they didn't really go for the flashlight save, the flashbang on the pickup, or waiting to stun you or follow you around. But it seemed like as soon as I got second hook on somebody, they could just turbo out the gens, and the game, before I knew it, the game was over. And it just put a bad taste in my mouth. And I was just like, how did this game come so far to, like, some games lasting 15 to 20 minutes, and that's not just because of like griefing or anything. It's like it's just the back and forth. And it really disheartened me when I come in and I'm looking at some of these profiles of people that are I'm playing against, and being at, like 750, a little under 750 hours total throughout my entire time playing the game. It didn't matter that I left for over a year. I came back, and I literally came back right into what I left, except this time there was a lot of trash talk. And like, you could play as fair as you want. You could be graceful and not tunnel anybody, but you get teabagged, and people will talk smack to you for no reason. And it's just like, I don't know how these devs can support a player base like that and are not ready to do something where they can, promote a healthier state of the game. You can't stop people from trash talking really, but you could even the playing field, and then it doesn't feel like it's always so one-sided. But I just can't bring myself to playing Survivor really. And at this point, same with Killer, and it's a sad thing to admit after 10 years of this game being out, you know, this was a really, like, at its core, this is one of the coolest games that you could play. And it's sad to see that whenever a patch comes out, you can just hear the bias in their voices that, it's always just impossible for Survivor. It's way too easy for Killer. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, do you guys ever play them? Do you ever try against these really tough squads that talk to each other and have perfect communication, perfect looping, perfect second chance? It's like you don't understand how broken this game really is. Because I thought, like back in Friday the 13th when they nerfed his grab animation, it used to be like instant. You could grab somebody, pick them up, and execute them right there. They had like less than a second to hit you once you grabbed them, but they didn't really know that you were gonna grab them. But then it changed into like a lunge, almost like a slow motion lunge grab, and like it stalled you for almost like 4 to 5 seconds before you could actually push the button and execute them. And that like made all the difference for these like bully squads to come in. And the second you were slashing people, they were complaining about it. And it's like, well, what do you expect when 5 of you people are circling around me every time I try to grab somebody? They're just playing stupid. They know what they're doing. They know they know what they're doing, and it doesn't matter. It's just to get a rise out of you. And you know, it is what it is. But man, oh man, like I don't remember survivors being this like crazy in the chats and like quick to just call you a tunneler, quick to call you a baby killer, quick, you very rarely see just a GG when you win, especially when you win against them. You don't really see GGs anymore. That's like 2% of all killer games. You're going to see the killer that loses say GG, right? But like you're a killer, you'll never see them GG you. The only GG when they stomp you into the ground and they loop you the whole game. And it's very passive aggressive, and some people can take that, and I took it up to a point, and then it just got on my nerves, and it can't. I got feeling that like no matter how well I can learn something, the second I learn a strategy, it gets nerfed into the ground. So why am I spending any more time with this? You know, if you love DBD, you should stick with it, regardless. Don't let me sway you from ever playing this game. But I'm just telling you from a personal level where I came from and where it's gone and where I think it's headed. And I saw some of the new perks coming out with the survivors, the cross examination being the main one. And I can just think to myself, like, I know how easy it is personally to lose chases because they can just stop running and turn a corner, and there'll be two walls that they can go to, and you don't know which wall they go to, and they can just break your line of sight and crouch somewhere, and it's so hard to hear them when they're injured. And I'm just thinking to myself, when this comes out, they're gonna be ghosts. Like you're gonna get a hit on them, they're gonna loop you around a tall tile where you can't see them, and then they're just gonna vanish, and you're not gonna know where they went. And I don't see how that's gonna be a healthy thing to the game. I just, you know, it's you gotta run gen perks. I mean, you have to run some kind of gen regression to even like drag the game out a couple extra minutes. And it's just like breaking line of sight can extend chases so much. And I really hope that they reconsider their decision on it, but I'm not going to be that hopeful. I've seen some of their dev streams, and just hearing them talk aggravates me, and I think to myself, why did I spend money on this game to begin with? Like why did I give them my money if I knew they were just going to essentially, indirectly let people bully you and screw with you, and there's really not any comeback to it. And the only way to counter it really is to play an S tier killer. And I just don't. It takes away the fun of the game. I don't want to have to play one killer just to tie or just to barely win. I want to be able to play any killer, and if I play well enough, it shows. So today I came back, played Trapper, one of the crappier killers. I mean, if you can hide his traps well and you can get people to run into him, he can be very effective. And I barely even tied, and I got trash talked immediately. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, like, I have maybe a tenth of the hours against the survivors combined. I was checking some of the profiles, and these guys have like 4 to 5 thousand hours, and it's nothing like the old ranking system where it used to be every month would, well, it still happens, like every month resets, but you used to like play against, weaker players in the beginning, and then the more you played throughout the month, you would rank up through it. And when you ranked up, it's basically essentially your MMR getting higher for that month. And then you would, once you hit Erie, you were basically playing the best of the best, usually, not all the time, but more often than not, you were playing the best of the best. And I thought that was so cool because there was a progression to build like your confidence to get you into it. And it was a good way to lure you into playing it, you know long periods of time. And now with this MMR system, it's just, it doesn't matter how long you leave, you're going to come back to where you left off. And that's kind of what happened to me today. And I wanted to like give a little demonstration of what I'm talking about at some point, probably in the next like 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to hop onto a game and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I will probably mute the microphone just so that I don't get too distracted trying to talk, lean down and talk into it while I'm playing. But it was mind blowing to me because I'm thinking, okay, I took a big break, for one reason or another. There's other games. It wasn't just because I didn't like DBD. There was a few games that came out that I was really into, and then I got back into World of Warcraft for a little while. But it was really the whole release of Jason, upcoming release of Jason. That's what really sparked my interest. And after what happened today, I kind of wanted to make a personal video about it. So, because like Jason's like my favorite franchise killer ever. Like I really wanted to buy him, but like I knew what I was getting myself into. So I was like, what, screw it. I'm not even gonna entertain it and give him any shekels. Okay, let the game play out, and we'll see how people take it. Because I'm just one person. I might have a big gripe with the game, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people think it's great, couldn't be better, and that's great. I'm glad that you find some reason to keep playing it because it, like I said, bringing all these like iconic killers into one game is one of the coolest things ever. Like, and that's why I don't want this game to die. I don't want to see people giving up like I had, you know, but it's just you can only take so much playing, before you just say, is this really fun anymore? Do I get any enjoyment out of this anymore? Can I ever really overturn and overcome everything, And I guess if you really don't ever care about killing or even tying at that point, you're gonna love this game. You're never gonna have a problem with it. But that's just not me. It's like I want to play well and I want it to show. And you know, but it is what it is. Take for it what you will. I don't think anybody should just hear this and stop playing it entirely. It's just to take it with a grain of salt, if especially if you're new, where this game has come and where it's going. Just be wary that like, the people, the big streamers out there that poo poo about the situation in the game, they're not just saying it just to say it and farm views. There is a real fundamental issue going on with this game. And, you know, take for what you will, but I wanted to show you personally what it's like in my shoes when every time I get into this game. So I'm going to turn the volume back up, and I'm probably going to mute the audio just to let the game play through. And I like to show you a little example, a little taste of what an average game feels like just to me alone after taking a long break from this game. I just want to show you. So hang on a sec and I'll get it going. Alright, so you see how that looked like a pretty, like I was playing like a champ, right? I was not. I was actually really bad at it, but the thing is with RPD is that there's a lot of pinch points you can get people in, and places where they wouldn't expect it. Had this been a more open map with wider pathways, wider doorways, and everything, they would have easily been able to get around every single one of those traps that I set down. So, on its face, it doesn't seem like, oh, it's pretty easy, right? I don't even know why the Thalita gave up, because they were about to win and all they had to do was just rush the gen out, which I thought was pretty funny. So a typical average game will not run like that, but they were very, like, some of them were pretty good at looping. And again, it all depends on where you're at too. Like areas with open doorways, wide gaps to go around, they can just deactivate your traps or just completely skip around them. There's not really a lot of places you can hide those in. So, wasn't that bad of a play. I don't think I did exceptionally well, but I was able to keep pressure up until the end game. We'll try one more game and see how it goes. You notice how nobody said GG, right? That's pretty typical. If you get 4K, don't expect them to be happy and to be all happy for your success either. I'm actually shocked it wasn't a 4 flashlight squad that game. I'm actually really shocked. This has 3, so we'll see how that works out. I don't like running Lightborn, but sometimes when you see stuff like that, you probably should, just so that you're not getting blinded every 5 seconds. Let's see if we can look up anybody's, I want to see what some of their hours are if they show it. That guy didn't have one. Let's try him. Nope, can't see anything. It just shows their profile. We'll try the Sable real quick. See if it tells us how many hours they got. Nope, none of them show time spent in the game. So, it's anybody's guess. Alright, take 2. And mind you, that this is the third game back, so I'd be interested how this one goes. See how he's light years away on that Trip W? That's Trapper's biggest weakness. annoying game there. But you see how this game is going? It's not going too well, is it? GG, well played. Any bets? Oh, wow. Not even that. So, could I have played that better? Oh yeah, way better. I lost Chase a few times, but you could see that they were pretty well coordinated. As soon as I go after, their first instinct was to shift W, which is, again, like I said, is biggest weakness. If you can't spend time to lay down many traps, or they deactivate every trap you put down, it cuts off all your loops. It cuts off all your pressure. Now again, this is my third game back after a year. But do you see, like, that is pretty much the standard of what I experience in pretty much every single game I go against. So if I don't play it, now you kind of know why. But do with it what you will, and, you know, I hope if you're on the fence about it, you kind of have an idea what you're up against. I don't like people telling me that, oh, you don't know what it's like, or you're just parroting what somebody else is saying. I'm showing you definitive proof. This is what I come back to even after a long break of playing. Survivors that will sit there and flashlight you or teabag. Surprisingly, nobody teabagged me or talk trash. That's actually pretty crazy. I didn't see any of that, but that's good. I mean, at least in a sense that's a step up from what it was, from what I remember. So, but yeah, it's just if that's something, I don't know. Like ranged is a little better. I like playing him or him, but I just this is why a player like myself would hesitate in coming back. It's just you need to be able to out mind game these people. And mind you, I had undetectable when I would kick gens, and even then they would know to shift W away anyway. So that might have had two people working together in a squad. I don't know if that was 4-man or not. It didn't feel like a 4-man because they would have saboed or they would have tried to blind me instantly after my first attempt on a pickup. So, but yeah, it's very very easy to beat a killer like this, especially if you can one he doesn't bring the add-on that injures you or keeps you stuck if you try to break his traps. I don't run add-ons typically, but that's kind of where it is nowadays. That's what you got to do. You have to run add-ons, you have to run the hardest perks, and you got to have a really really good strategy. And you know I just want to get on, play, have fun, get a 4K here, 4K there, and it is what it is. But if you're in this to win all the time, you're gonna be gladly disappointed being a killer man. But hope something you know sparked your interest into watching this, and if you want to see more, let me know. But I'm as far as I'm concerned, I'm probably gonna play this very very sporadically because I got a lot of better games to play that don't drive me up a wall. So, but GG's, and have a good night, and happy 10th anniversary. Hopefully, it gets better, and you know, we'll see what the devs put down on the table for us. All right, take care.